There's immense cynicism and hypocrisy in the condemnation of Israel. After 9/11, the Security Council of the United Nations passed Resolution 1373. And that resolution said that states must not harbor, give safe haven, finance, plan, or allow such actions for terrorists. It didn't say some actions in this part of the world, or some nations cannot do it in this part of the world, but they can do it in another part of the world. And of course, the United States acted very boldly against the terrorist havens that were given to Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the terrorist haven that was given to the chief terrorist, bin Laden, in Pakistan. Those countries that are condemning Israel today did not come and say, well, what a terrible thing was done. The sovereignty of Pakistan was violated. The sovereignty of Afghanistan was violated. You don't have such sovereignty when you are effectively giving a base to terrorists and a place where they can ply their gruesome trade. So it's the right of every country under international law to defend itself beyond its borders against those who would kill their citizens, murder them en masse. That is what guided Israel. What are we trying to do in Gaza? Where you say we're bringing down those towers to intimidate people? We're not bringing down those towers to intimidate people. Those towers are serving as Hamas strongholds. But what we're doing is we're telling the population, because we're going to take over and destroy Hamas stronghold, they're one of the last two strongholds and the most important one that Hamas has left in the Gaza Strip. We ask you to leave. And what is Hamas doing? They're asking them to stay because they want to use them as human shields, as they've done from the beginning of the war. And we say, leave, please leave. Do leave, fast, and as fast as you can. And that's what we're doing right now. Hamas is telling them, Hamas is not only telling them, don't leave, but in previous occasions, including a few weeks ago, they shoot them. They shoot women and children in the legs, beginning with the legs, then they go higher if it doesn't work, to keep them in harm's way. So I think that to the extent that the world again is falsely condemning Israel, they should get their priorities and their facts right. It is Israel that is trying to clear the combat zones from civilians. It's Hamas that's trying to keep them in. So we'll continue to do what we can to make sure that they're out of harm's way, and we'll complete our mission, which is to free all our hostages, get them all back, and make sure that Hamas is eliminated.
And on the assessment of the impact of the strike, whether the leadership was killed in Doha?
Well, we're still getting the final reports. I'll tell you what the impact of the strike is. We sent a message to the terrorists. You can run, but you can't hide, and we'll get you.
אדוני ראש הממשלה, לפי הדיווחים, לא רק שהתקיפה של צה"ל נכשלה בקטר, אלא גם נחשפו יכולות מסווגות של צה"ל בתקיפה בשבוע שעבר. האם בדיעבד אתה מצטער על ההוראה שנתת להוציא את התקיפה לפועל?
Well, I don't accept the premise in your question, which is that Hamas, that the raid failed. Didn't fail because it had one central message, and we considered it before we launched it. And that is, you can hide, you can run, but we'll get you. You can, and this is important. I mean, terrorists they think they enjoy immunity, they'll do it again and again and again. And if you deny them that immunity, they'll think twice. לכן הטענה שהפעולה בקטר נכשלה, אני לא מקבל אותה, כי הדבר העיקרי שרצינו להעביר זה המסר. שאתם לא מקבלים חסינות בשום מקום בעולם. זו הייתה המדיניות שלנו, וזאת היום המדיניות שלנו.
Mr. Prime Minister Robbie Grammer with the Wall Street Journal, just to put a finer point on it, would you rule out further strikes on Hamas operatives in foreign sovereign countries in the region? And for Secretary Rubio, what's your message to close U.S. allies like the UK, which you plan to visit, on the vote at the United Nations to advance a Palestinian state, not just to nations overall, but some of our closest allies like the UK? Thanks.
The principle that terrorists should not have immunity wherever they are, wherever they may be, was not established by me. We had a massacre a few decades ago. It's called the Munich Massacre, in which PLO terrorists murdered our athletes to the Olympic Games. And my predecessor, Golda Meir, vowed that we shall track down these terrorists and get them one by one, which is what we proceeded to do in the leading European countries. And we did this one by one by one. I didn't hear a great cry of wrongdoing to these countries. Even though they weren't harboring terrorists, the terrorists were there. Okay, they didn't even harbor them, as is the case in other cases. The terrorists happened to be on that soil, and we acted, which is what democracies do, including the leading democracy, when they have the ability to target terrorists to threaten their civilians. So this is a principle we established. It's a principle we follow. It hasn't changed.
On your question, these things that people are doing and these different countries are doing at the United Nations, first of all, they're largely being done because of their own domestic politics. Second of all, they're largely symbolic. They have really no impact whatsoever in bringing us any closer to a Palestinian state. The only impact they actually have is it makes Hamas feel more emboldened. It makes other elements like Hamas feel more emboldened. It actually has made it harder. It's actually served as an impediment to peace. In the past, we have seen when these statements have come out, maybe there's a negotiation going on. Maybe you think you've actually made some progress on getting some hostages released or an end to the war. And then these things come out, and all of a sudden these groups back off. In many cases, walk away. Hamas has walked away from agreements that they actually had tacitly agreed to. But then they see the sort of international support they believe they're getting as a rule, and they walk away from it. So we've warned of two things. One, it actually makes it harder to negotiate when those negotiations were occurring, and because it emboldens these groups. And the second is we've warned them that there will be an Israeli counter-reaction to those moves, and we've seen some of that happen as well. So I think these things have actually made it harder to end this war and this conflict, not easier. And we've expressed that to them, and I've expressed that to them directly on multiple occasions, and I'll continue to do it. Now, they're going to do what they want, and they're going to continue to do what they're doing, but I'm telling you, it's actually hurting the cause they think they're furthering.
Two last questions.
Let's take one for the foreign press and one from the Israeli press.
You take it. Go ahead. You tell them. Go ahead. It's fine.
Thank you. Secretary, I wanted to ask, I know you mentioned prior to the trip that the focus of the trip was not the Israeli plans for the operation in Gaza City, but I was wondering if you could tell us if that's something, and Mr. Prime Minister, good to see you again, if this is something that came up in your discussions in terms of the U.S. view on the announced Israeli plans for military operations in Gaza City, and what the U.S. view is about this idea of, as some have talked about, a Gideon's Operation Gideon's Chariot, kind of or a continuation of the offensive, or an expansion of the offensive, potentially this month in Gaza City.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The best way for me to put it to you is that the purpose, of our conversations have been about what the president. I'll restate what the president has repeatedly said. He wants every single hostage released. He wants Hamas eliminated as a threat, and he wants to then have the United States be helpful in rebuilding Gaza for the future that's going to be peaceful and prosperous, and not have elements like Hamas operating. That's the goal. Now, how do we achieve that? How do we get there? That's what we're always talking about. That's what we talked about today. And that's going to continue to be the focus of our engagement in this. We want all of the hostages out, all of them, every single one of them, both living and deceased, all of them. There should never have been hostages. This should never have happened. Okay, this happened because on October 7th, these animals, these barbaric animals, conducted this operation, and against innocent people that had nothing to do with any of this. And that's why this all started. We've forgotten that. People have forgotten that that's where this all began. That's why the president keeps saying, remember October 7th. We wouldn't even be having these conversations right now if these barbarians had not done what they did. So this is what brought us to this point. It needs to end. And how does it end? It ends by eliminating the people who did it, by ending them as a threat. It ends by releasing every single hostage, both living and deceased. There should never have been a hostage. There should not be a hostage now. And then, when all of that is done, then we can begin the work, I hope, internationally, to providing the people of Gaza the kind of future that they deserve, but that they will never have as long as a group like Hamas exists. So that's been our focus, and obviously, we have been the focus and at the core of much of what we talked about. How do we achieve what I believe is a shared goal, not just of the United States and Israel, but of multiple countries around the world and certainly in the region who want to see the same outcome. And that's what we've been focused on. That's been the president's focus. And he wants that to all happen as soon and as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you asked a question. What was the tail end of your question?
Just if you could comment about, following your discussions of the past couple of days about Israel's plans with regard to Gaza City and potential expansion of the offensive there.
Well, I'm not going to talk about our tactical plans. I leave that to our military people in the field. But I have stated the cabinet's decision on 5 principles that I brought before it. And as Secretary Rubio correctly said, this war could end now. And it requires the first step for Hamas to lay down its arm, to release all our hostages. And I'll bring you the 3 other points that we put forward. The third is that Gaza should be demilitarized. Demilitarized is different from just laying down your arms, because you want to make sure that arms are not smuggled into Gaza and arms are not produced in Gaza. So demilitarization is the third point. Overriding Israeli security responsibility is the fourth point, to make sure that there's no resurgent terrorism, Hamas or from any other organization. And the last thing is to establish a transitional civilian government by people who do not advocate the destruction of Israel, do not educate their children to terrorism, finance terrorism, or launch terrorism. These are the 5 points, and we're committed to doing it. We're now, Secretary Rubio said, how do you achieve this? How do you achieve the release of the hostages and eliminating Hamas if you keep Hamas there? If they surrender, lay down their arms, then you can do the rest without battle. And at any point, if you can do something without battle, it's better. Having been in battle, I can tell you it's not a lot of fun. And to see your friends die next to you is not a lot of fun. Or maimed for life, that's not a lot of fun. So if we can achieve this by having a Hamas surrender, all the better.
One last question.
I don't know. בבקשה.
תודה.
תקום, בבקשה.
אברהם חסון, ערוץ 14. ראש הממשלה, מהם הצעדים המשותפים כתגובה אפשרית להצהרה עתידית על מדינה פלסטינית באו"ם, והאם הועלתה אפשרות לחלת ריבונות ביהודה ושומרון כתגובה לצעד העתידי?
צעד העתידי הוא צעד עתידי, אתה לא חייב לחשוף אותו לפני כן, אבל ברור שאם נוקטים פעולות חד-צדדיות נגדנו, אז פשוט מזמינים פעולות חד-צדדיות מצידנו.
Thank you very much.
That's it. Thank you. I want to acknowledge, the presence of 2 extraordinary ambassadors here, Ambassador Huckabee, American ambassador to Israel, and Ambassador Leiter, Israel's ambassador to the United States, our foreign minister, Gideon Saar, our National Security Council head, Tzachi Hanegbi, and my staff, and your staff.
Yeah.
All great people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a joint news conference in which Netanyahu said that Israel and the U.S. will continue to act together to protect the 2 countries. Now, Rubio's visit is a clear message that America stands with Israel in the face of terror. This is what Prime Minister Netanyahu said in his address. Well, the 2 officials had a 3-hour meeting at Netanyahu's West Jerusalem office on Monday, after which they had the joint news conference in Jerusalem. Now, the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have held further talks as regional leaders gathered in Doha to denounce the unprecedented Israeli attack on Qatar last week, which Netanyahu reiterated that Israel takes full responsibility for, and the punishing war in Gaza.